down on the record, I'ma set it straight. Hey! Yeah. I need some Fruit Loops, maybe some Lucky Charms. Never can have too much. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with them tricks I'm about to kill. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with my everyday meal. A bowl of that cereal. 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 I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with these tricks I'm about to kill. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with my everyday meal. A bowl of that cereal. Don't care what the size it is. Wake up every morning, you know what time it is. Don't need me a cup of that fold, just pour me that marshmallow clothes. When it come to the size of the bowl, the bigger the better. Growing up, I can only have some in the morning, but now it's whenever. A bowl of that cereal, boxes of hotness all up in my shopping cart. $5 for $10, I'm copping, bruh. No other breakfast is topping ya. General Mills with that toast crunch. For breakfast and dinner for show lunch. Craving them frosted flakes. Why is that? Because they're great. I don't think you get it. I'm that Applejack flipping, fruity pebble pops, getting Rice Krispie, only with the sugar dough. Reese's Puff, mini wheat monster. Had one bowl and can't stop, bruh. Can't forget them Honey Nut Cheerios. Need me another bowl of that cereal. I need some Fruit Loops, maybe some Lucky Charms. Never can have too much. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with them tricks I'm about to kill. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with my everyday meal. A bowl of that cereal. 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 I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with these tricks I'm about to kill. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with my everyday meal. A bowl of that cereal. Yeah, don't mess with the kicks. Not a fan of the Special K. Needed the checks. Raisin Bran and Honey Smacks. Well, who just does that? I consume enough cereal to feed a whole city. Don't believe me, then you can ask plenty. My mama, my sister, my cousin, my shawty, my auntie, they'll all tell you the same thing. 3 bowls a day and ain't a thing changed. Ever since I was a whippersnapper in a diaper, talking that jibber jabber. On brand, boy, don't matter. On point, so dope. Had on them Dinobites, I be steady smashing. Got the fruity old, like give me 2 to go. Skitty. Wake up in the morning, then I thank the Lord. Tank top on, let's get it. Head straight to the kitchen. Mom's like, what you getting? I'm like, girl, you tripping. Don't act like you ain't know me. Me another bowl of that cereal. I need some Fruit Loops, maybe some Lucky Charms. Never can have too much. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with them tricks I'm about to kill. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with my everyday meal. A bowl of that cereal. 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 I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with these tricks I'm about to kill. I'm talking about 2% milk. To go with my everyday meal. A bowl of that cereal.
I'm in love with the salt cathedral I reside in, but sometimes my spirit and my flesh are colliding. A waves hit with a trident from Poseidon, got me ashamed to start hiding. All of my flaws make me. You can never ever say this world's what made me. Lately I'm feeling like everyone hates me, but I can never ever let them start to deflate me. I'm trying to keep my spirit pure and my soul clean, but lust coming out of brother I know dig. And turn me back up to the old me, but I wasn't fond of the old me. And I got man not through soul ties. They told me be careful, now I know why. Cause you gotta keep your body good for the mission, and you're lost when you walk with no. I'm just trying to wash away all this pain on my stained glass windows. And I was moving way too fast, so I had to switch up my tempo. I'm just trying to wash away all this stained glass windows. And I was moving way too fast, so I had to switch tempo. I mean, there's nothing wrong with drinking a my kidneys like it was old one. My family been known to stare at the brown bag. Can I blame it on genetics? Like, can't control it, please. Please, please, please.
Well, peace, friends. My name's Tom. I'm the pastor here at Sycamore Creek Church, and welcome to our crazy Good Friday service. It's the How Bad Will It Rain service. This is actually a Good Friday in a garage. We've got some good poetry. We've got some ribs. We've got a DJ spinning it up in the back, wise counsel. I don't exactly know what kind of tone we're going for tonight with this Good Friday service. I mean, usually it's a somber service, but tonight we got ribs, we got music, we got poets. It's definitely an out-of-the-box Good Friday service. You know, Good Friday is the day that Christians remember Jesus' death by Roman crucifixion, and it's kind of weird to call an execution good, but it can only be called good because of what Christians believe happened on Sunday morning in the resurrection. And yet, calling an execution by an oppressive empire good sounds tone-deaf to my ears, like raising awareness of alopecia as we couldn't get enough of judging two black men. Like the person who told me it was good when my wife's breast cancer coincided with my sabbatical. Like the counteroffensive in Ukraine taking back streets strewn with lifeless bodies. Like Patrick Leoya being shot in the back of the head by the Grand Rapids PD as he was pinned to the ground. Calling it good sounds to my ears like getting back to normal after 1 million people are dead in the U.S. and millions more worldwide and counting. Like Western unity in support of Ukraine while African and black students are kept from crossing the border to safety. Like being in a fatal car crash and only losing one of your kids. Why call it good? Why not call it Sucks to Be You Friday? Or FUBAR Friday? Or Thoughts and Prayers Friday? Why call it good? Why not call it Sucks to Be You Friday? Or FUBAR Friday? Or Thoughts and Prayers Friday? No, let's slam the lid on this idea of good. Let's seal up the tomb and pray the stench doesn't last too long of a promise of pie in the sky while we rot in hell on earth. Because everybody knows good is getting whatever you want. Good is having everything you desire. Good is giving your body every pleasure. Good is getting it right now. Good is never having any hardship or struggle or suffering your best life without your worst life. Are you good? Maybe our idea of good is FUBAR. Maybe our idea of good sucks. Maybe our idea of good needs some thoughts and prayers. So we gather tonight on this Good Friday to think and pray about what exactly is good. And if Jesus is any indication of what we'll find, something is going to have to die tonight. And that will be good. Now, before we go any further with this event, I think it's appropriate on a night when we remember an unjust execution of the Son of God, who was a refugee on earth, to take a moment of silence for all those who died unjustly this year, like Patrick Leoya. Will you join me in a moment of silence? All right, Wise, bring the beat back. So there's 4 books in the Bible that tell the story of Jesus' life, and each one records a slightly different set of words that Jesus said as he hung on the cross. And Christians have a tradition on Good Friday to read and reflect upon those words all gathered together as sometimes called the 7 last words of Christ. So all the poets here tonight behind me have been given one of those words, a prompt from those last words, a theme to write an original poem or to read an original poem. And some of these poets may be people of faith, Christian or otherwise, others may not. This is a diverse, unique, and creative way, I think, to reflect on those last words. I haven't actually heard any of these poems, and I haven't asked any of these poets to censor themselves, so it may not always be suitable for children. That's your call. Tonight is real, it's authentic, it's raw, just like the crucifixion. So the last word is a word of forgiveness, and it's almost impossible to imagine someone being unjustly executed praying for God to forgive their executioners. Jesus says in Luke 23:34, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." So the theme of this last word is forgiveness, and the poet is Aaron Umstead. Give some snaps for Aaron.
I am loving being here. Thank you for all being here. I'm excited for the barbecue. I'm a little sad because I wrote this poem on Sanibel Island in Florida. So a little different. There's no pelicans here, but we'll do our best. So this idea of forgiveness has been a theme for me this year, and let me tell you why. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23:43. Father, forgive me the distance I put between us and them. Forgive me the smug list-making and looks that settle me a notch above. Forgiveness as a way to move forward sometimes moves over, and I'm playing Peter, counting 70 times 7. A worthy task for an English teacher, you'll quip, and I'll forgive you with a smile and a hash mark on my holier than you list. The forgiveness Jesus pleaded for in my favor is not just for show or a math quiz. The forgiveness my Savior begged for on my behalf is to be gifted, even in the face of jeering hatred. I sometimes pretend that forgiveness is a suggestion like stretching daily or try the salad, why don't you? I sometimes pretend that forgiveness is a suggestion like stretching daily or try the salad, why don't you? Forgiveness as a way to a lighter heart and a clear conscience. Jesus' dying words somehow get lost in translation between my heart and my mouth. Father, forgive me the gap between my heart and my head. Forgive my mind's sticky fingers that hold on to insult and close around injury. Father, forgive me as I seek ways to forgive myself. Forget about 70 times 7. I'd settle for just once. Father, forgive me as I seek ways to forgive myself. Forget about 70 times 7. I'd settle for just once.
So nothing says the crucifixion like smoked ribs. Don't forget, we got Willie D's barbecue out here. All right, you don't have to wait till the end to get that. So Jesus is crucified between two thieves, and one of them curses at Jesus, and one of them asks for forgiveness. And this is what Jesus says to him. So the theme of the second last word is salvation or heaven or paradise. Jesus says in Luke 23:43, I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise. Here's my favorite poet of the night, my wife, Sarah Arthur.
So the words that I was given of Jesus' last words, today you will be with me in paradise. And this is not a poem that I wrote for this event. It's actually something I wrote in the spring of 2019 after I had just gone through cancer treatment for almost 2 stage breast cancer. And I had gone through surgeries and chemo and was maybe 4 months out from the last of the treatment. And when spring was approaching, it felt like paradise to me because all of the other stuff was over. And yet, you can never forget. This is such an English major poem. I'm sorry, it's not a spoken word piece. It's like rhyming couplets. Sorry. And when at last the winter's work has stormed its way across the sleeping earth, the strengthening sun rises, stretches, yawns. Fair morning strides victorious across the lawns. Snow recedes like the westward fleeing night. One bird pipes to another and takes flight. Green presses upward from the wakening soil. Brave ferns and fronds luxuriously uncoil. Their revelry shouts the sun still higher, the glad earth a golden winged flyer. And this body, crushed from winter's hold, though weak and wan and growing ever old, wakes to the sound of spring's returning, a thawing soul, reborn and yearning.
That was a poem of hope on this night where it's raining. So while hanging on the cross, Jesus looks down and he sees his mother and his beloved best friend John, and he invites them to be family for one another. The theme of this last word is relationship or care for your parents. In John 19:26 and 27, Jesus says, "Dear woman, here is your son." And he said this to the disciple, "Here is your mother." Here's David alone.
I picked this prompt, this words of Jesus, and I picked the hardest poem to write. I haven't spoken to my own mother in over 2 years, this poem feels very unfinished, and it ends in a very strange way, at least for me. It's open-ended, and yet it feels like it's ends like a car crashing into a wall. So, woman, behold your son. Those were the words Jesus said shortly before he ran out of breath. Every word took excruciating efforts. For Jesus was an excruciating torture, for he was hanging on a crucifix. Below him was his mother, his aunts, Mary the wife of Clopas, Mary Magdalene, and next to his mother was the disciple whom he loved, otherwise known as John. To John he said, "Here is your mother." With those words, and from that hour, John took in the mother of Jesus into his home without thinking. He listened to the words of his rabbi. And Mary listened too. She listened to her son, who when faced with his own death was concerned about his mother, this mother who had to bear the weight of losing a child, watching him take each breath in agony. Oh, what a long walk home, as new mother and son tarry along, struggling to carry one another home. I don't know how they slept that night, as they sat in shock, wondering, where do we go from here? It was her son, his friend, her boy, his rabbi, their Messiah, our Messiah, the Christ, has died. Mary, I imagine, is restless. She can't rest her head, so she heads to the kitchen. She starts making latkes. For the first time, John says, "Ima, Ima, what on earth are you doing?" And she replies, "Johnny boy, I'm making you your favorite food, you look hungry. And John ate everything she put on his plate. Mary, mother of John, Mary, mother of God. And with those words, the church splits. We abandoned our mother. We failed to take her into our home, to care for her as our own. Oh, what a bond of a mother to her son, and a son to his mother. A bond not easily broken. But it is what it is. And with those words still on her tongue, I screamed, for I was cut hard. Immediately I leaped off the porch to pick a fight with my brother. And there beneath the porch was my mother and my aunts holding me back. For far too long I held my breath, watching my own family suffer the consequence. And now my words are drawing thorns to my mother's head, a crown I never wanted her to wear. Immediately I felt the shame of broken duty, for my mother to care. But at the same time I felt her apathy, wondering if she really cared. I repeatedly begged the question, where do we go from here?
So while Jesus is hanging on the cross, he quotes Psalm 22. This is from the book of Psalms, which is the poetry and prayer book of the Bible of Jesus' day. And Psalm 22 is known in the Jewish tradition as a psalm of lament. Jesus is using ancient poetry and prayers to express his own sense of alienation from God while hanging on the cross. Most lament psalms take a turn towards trust and hope. And while Jesus doesn't quote the whole psalm, scholars debate whether he also has in mind the turn to hope later in the poem. In Matthew 27:46 and Mark 15:34, Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Here's Chad Sanders with a poem.
30 minutes ago, I told my mom that my phone said it's going to stop raining in 30 minutes. My phone, why have you forsaken me? I have no preamble for this. Are you there, God? It's me, Chad. I've had a question or two for you for a while. And while I keep asking politely, I can't help feeling slightly ignored. The silence, if I'm being honest, is just rude. Back in the day, you talked to people. You were like, go to Nineveh, or build a giant boat, or stay away from that tree over there. Things would be easier if you just talked to me. Last week, this world got to be a bit much, and I asked you for a sign. Just one sign that everything was going to be okay. Is that too much to ask? I didn't think so. But no, nothing. On the screens, scenes of war, innocents lost at a cost too high to comprehend. Yet you could send down fire and wrath. You could end it today. Make them all pay. But instead, millions of refugees flee. Who will answer their plea? I turn off the TV and all I see in that black mirror is me. Another kid shot. For what? 15 years old, should be worried about that girl he wants to ask out. Or what he wants to be. Or his art class drawing of Dragon Ball Z. Instead, he's drawing on his fear, on his rage, and he engages online. Angry words leave his thumbs like bullets from a gun. They shoot from his phone and they hit home. Sticks and stones can break bones, but words break friendships. Words break spirits. Words get liked and shared and upvoted until the words spill out into the street and a life stops at 15. I'm at the stoplight on the corner where they placed the flowers and the signs from another candlelight vigil. I shout, why don't you make it stop? Why don't you show them there's a better way? You need to come down here and fix this. No answer comes back. The light turns green, and in the rear view, all I see is me. Some mornings, the weight of it all keeps me pinned to the bed. Climate, COVID, career, inflated economy, deflated ego. I drag myself to the bathroom. A bracing splash of reality can't wake me from this dream. I cry out to you. Why are you silent? Why have you forsaken me? The world needs to see you. I stare at the mirror, waiting for an answer. I long to see the face of God, and the face I see in the mirror is me.
Well, somehow the rain seems to make the whole thing more appropriate. So death by crucifixion is a brutal, long, drawn-out process. What ultimately happens is that the one being crucified dies of asphyxiation, unable to pull their body up to take breath. Jesus experiences the physical toll of distress while hanging on the cross. And in John 19:28, he says, "I thirst." Here's Julia Scott.
Hello. So I wrote this earlier this week. There's many things that I've wrote that speak about thirsting and quenching that thirst, or being in the life of having that thirst quenched. But that, like, reading the passage and just picturing being on there for so long and so parched, it just how fragile my mind would be in that state, and how much I would not be so effective. So I wrote this. I thirst for Christ, yet find my lips dry, dehydrated from time away, lifeless life trapped in night, losing touch with the vine while the flesh is here. Soul turns to hardened dust with anger and fear. Feel that Christ is not near, the cycle repeats, blown away as I wither in sandy desert heat. Broken branches, defeat, I can't see his fruit. He brings relief, but I'm blinded to truth. This thirst I once knew was relieved with Christ, but over days, then weeks, I get lost in the lies. Then one day my tired mind shifts to a need to fill the lamp with light, fuel the fire to see. So I wander blindly seeking the one I desire, to a waterfall of wisdom, all here to acquire. Pouring too fast to decipher all of it right now, diving into the goodness, how quickly I drowned. Slammed to the ground, so much overwhelmed with unprocessed thoughts, demons rise up from hell. So I chug faster from the well, but it skims down my chest, and broken cement chokes out most of what is read. The sermons bombard my head, get hurt from twisted words. Crashing waves taunt me to a crumble heart turned. The other extreme I learned from that barren land is swimming in an ocean deep where my feet fail to stand. Forgetting his hand in the knowledge I seek, I thirst for something, but this is too much for me. On my plan that I lean where intentions are good, the thirst that I want is misunderstood. The water that could restore me to life is received when allowing my Lord Jesus Christ. Him giving me sight, being renewed with his strength, being led to still waters, soaking in peace in that place, where mercy and grace received from our Father, providing what I need to help me move farther, with a reminder that the living water that would really quench my thirst is through letting Jesus live through me first. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. So the story as told by John, Jesus' closest friend, put Jesus in full control of his own execution. He willingly gives himself up and chooses when he'll die. Usually a Roman soldier would break the knees of someone who is hanging on a cross so that they can no longer pull themselves up to take a breath. And this speeds up the execution and in some sense is merciful. But John says that Jesus' bones were not broken. It's a reference back to that poetic lament of Psalm 22, and that he chose when he died. John 19:30, Jesus says, "It is finished." Here's Keontae Saxon.
Oh, so didn't nobody care to let me know that we was gonna be out in the garage and outside today? So I'm cold. You cold? Anybody else cold? I'm cold. But you know, it's all good. But we do. I think I could speak on behalf of everybody here that put this together. We thank you guys for coming out and enduring this in the rain. So thank you. Give a round of applause for yourself. That'll work. All right, I go by KT the Creative. I go by creative because I believe creativity is consciousness, and if creativity is consciousness, then that means creation is life. And if creation is life, as long as I'm creating, I'm always living. So can I live? Can I live? Perfect. As Pastor Tom said, the piece that I got was "It is finished," or the last word that I got is "It is finished," and that to me is a story of purpose. Jesus knew what was coming and chose to go through that anyway. He did that, for us. And so as I was going through this and reading and going through, I was like, okay, purpose. And I came up with the thought process that my purpose is poetic. Do me a favor. Ooh, what's wrong? What's going on? You good? She's good. I, want y'all to show me some love. Snap if you hear something that you really like. Y'all can talk back to me. I'm gonna be okay. All right. When I say that my purpose is poetic, I mean that this pen is an extension of my heart and mind. I mean that my journal was my only happy place for a very long time. I mean I only felt safe being vulnerable between the lines since I knew they were blue too. I mean, right now, these words birth purpose to a double-edged tongue. Razor sharp like the lies I would believe, but now I got the keys and I will chase my shadow anywhere. So when I plant the seeds or when I look in the mirror, I can see an identity of my choosing. To make a matchstick while dodging the ghosts of my past and mend this burning soul with music, rhythm, and poetry. 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 Did you hear the echoes? Well, that's just how I rap when the Alpha and Omega flocks to me. Because if you want to open the head up of a holy wordsmith, he can't hold his tongue under lock and key. I'm a freestyle, not bound to beat. My motive is loco. And you must be crazy if you think you're stopping me. But I was the only thing stopping me. Quarantined in my own skin way before COVID had the chance. I had to tap into my conscience. My identity was breaking. Had to swing out of this box. May I have this dance here? Two-step with poetry, it became rhythm and flow. But a few steps toward the mic, in a way we would go, evolving anger into alliteration, alerted alienation. It was time to adjust. Piqued curiosity, captivated in cursive, connecting point of view to penmanship. And although creation is not always smooth sailing, I trust my purpose. There's no way my pen man ships as KT and poet experience juxtapose. Instead of scheming my way through identity, I figured why not leave it to just the prose. They say love speaks in words of affirmation, and I guess that's just the way love goes. Yet you told me to be patient, and I do my very best to listen well, but I can't make this dollar in a dream just throwing pennies at the wishing well. These words gotta shake metaphors off the Richter scale to profit from the storytelling. I guess that means the script for sale, and I must be dope. That is, once I stopped selling my soul to the devil who wore Prada. She came in many clothes, but when it came to my cover, wasn't giving me nada. I wanted relationship. But it wasn't too long until relationship. I was a sucker for breast and thighs, candescent eyes. Now Yahweh and wordplay, the only love I want relation with. My purpose is poetic. Live by the pen, die by the pen. Romeo and Juliet it. To be or not to be, forget that. I'm here to shake spirits, and that's the answer to the question. When I say my purpose is poetic, I mean giving up is not an option until it is finished. Thank you.
on to the seventh and last word of Jesus, and it's a word of hope. While he has felt anguish and distress and abandonment, here he puts his life and spirit in God's hands like a child who willingly trusts a parent and jumps off a diving board into the deep end, knowing that they cannot swim, but the parent can. Jesus says in Luke 23:46, Father, I entrust my spirit into your hands. Here's Aaron Umstead.
This one was hard to write, and I think when you hear it, you'll hear why it was hard to write. Thank you for being here. The edges of my fragmented soul are a maze, a sort of labyrinth. Let me give you a map. Now, where did I put that? Growing up in the church, Jesus has been my Savior since I can remember. Baptized at 7, grew up in Sunday school, Christian school, through the 8th grade. But never have I put my full self into the hands of my loving Creator. Participated in youth group, went to church camp. I did all the things, checked all the boxes, but have never given my full self to my God and Savior. I remember learning that my body belongs to God and I need to save it for holy matrimony. Point of order? How about those with their innocence stolen? I remember learning that God made Adam and Eve. Point of order? What about Adam and Eve anchoring a spectrum as poetic device? I remember the edict to stick to the straight and narrow way. Imagine my chagrin when I was born neither straight nor narrow. I remember the edict to stick to the straight and narrow way. Imagine my chagrin when I was born neither straight nor narrow. I have withheld the parts of me that have been harmed and declared as dirty or unfit. I have withheld the parts of me that I felt would be better managed by my desires and addiction. Because that makes sense. God waits with open, outstretched arms, and I have withheld, if not the dearest, then certainly the most, oh gosh, what did it say? God waits with open, outstretched arms, and I have withheld, if not the dearest, yet certainly the most intimate parts of me. Why? Well, there's the $1 million question. And hey, speaking of $1 million, anybody got that to spare? I digress. I have withheld my treasure, literal and figurative, from my living sacrifice. It is ridiculous to think I have done a better job at directing my life than God would. My life can never be all it could be with any but Jesus at the helm. No, but it is a game I play. I have not given myself wholly over to my Lord and King. Until I do that, how can I hope to be whole? Help me, Jesus, to say as you said in Luke 23:46, Father God, I place myself into your loving hands, and then to actually do it.
Mark finishes the story for tonight. Mark writes that then Jesus uttered another loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain in the sanctuary of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the Roman officer who stood facing him saw how he had died, he exclaimed, "This man truly was the Son of God." Now you got to come back to hear the rest of the story. tomorrow, we've got several things that hopefully it will not be raining tomorrow. Have you checked your phone, Chad? Is the rain going to finish by tomorrow? We have a community Easter egg hunt at Scott Woods Park in the neighborhood that our South Lansing campus is. It's at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and 11 o'clock at the Potterville Park. Our Potterville campus has a community Easter egg hunt. If free ribs weren't enough for you, tomorrow we're doing free tacos at Sanctuary Spirits at our Spirited service, and that's at 2 o'clock. And then on Sunday morning, we have sunrise services. It's supposed to be not raining at 7 a.m. At Mount Hope Cemetery or at Lake Alliance in Potterville. And then we have our normal services both in person and online at both of our campuses. So, friends, thank you for coming out. You all are the best out there in the rain. I'm super impressed. Give some snaps. Give it up for Derek at Willie D's and Precious. They're going to be on the patio Sunday morning at our South Lansing campus doing more free barbecue. So, and give it up for Wise, our DJ, and our media team over here, Randy and Jason. Thank you guys. All right, hey, we're going to give Randy a minute when we shut this down to get the cameras out of the way and equipment out, and then you can come on in out of the rain if you would like to. So I think I'm assuming we got lots of food left out there. So friends, thank you so much for coming out. Until Easter morning, be curious, be creative, be compassionate, and peace out.